For my Genius Hour project, I decided to interview one of my favorite composers, Konecsni. When did you start playing piano?
I started taking lessons when I was about 4 years old from my mom. And I always enjoyed experimenting and just making up my own pieces right from when I was little.
What method did you use, Suzuki or Royal Conservatory music?
Well, I started with some basic different kind of method books, but then I went into Royal Conservatory after that.
When you write music, do you start with the melody or the chords and scales?
Well, I always begin writing with the melody. Usually that's the first thing that would come to my mind. And then the chords and everything else with the left hand would follow after that.
When do you have a favorite composer and why?
Well, I have favorite composers that I admire their music and favorite composers to play, but I would say that I really admire the genius of Bach's writing, and he's very much like a wizard to me. And when I study his music, I see how everything, he puts it all together as though he's a master watchmaker. Everything just fits together. And I also love the beauty of Chopin's music. And actually, Chopin was one of the composers that was never satisfied with his music. He often rewrote it 100 times and then would end up going with the very first way that he wrote it. So those are just actually two of my favorites. It was very hard to try to choose one.
How do you decide when to make it loud, soft, jumpy, or smooth?
I think that's a great question. Often I find that different performers that play my pieces will have new ideas. And if they're convinced by their new way of playing it, I'm usually fine with that. But the things, again, if I'm going to write a passage to be loud or soft, I usually decide that right away. That kind of comes to my mind right with the melody. And so I have that kind of in the back of my mind right away. But that was a really good question.
What is your inspiration for your songs?
Well, my inspiration is always taken from my students. I usually write a piece specifically for a student, and I think of them and then their strengths and their personality, what kind of music they like to play, and then I also try to write something that will sort of stretch them beyond the level that they're playing at musically and help them to grow and become a better pianist.
I notice you always have a story written under the music. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, most of my pieces always have stories because I'm a very visual person, and I always see images and pictures in all of the music that I play and that I teach. Some of the pieces that I've written, I've actually put the story in, as you know, and some of them I haven't. Usually the more advanced pieces have a story too, I just haven't always written it in. I think the story helps the students to imagine and communicate with their listeners, but really I think it also makes it much more fun and interesting to imagine a story along with the piece.
What kind of music do you like to compose best?
Well, I chiefly write music for piano, and anything that's interesting and fun and really creates a specific learning experience. Like for example, my piece Dinosaur Don't was written to help students to play triplets well, because I found that there weren't a lot of other pieces out there like that. And Snowin' was written to teach students to be able to really to play the notes nice and gently and to sweep off of them. So really, anything I like to write best is just generally also pieces that will help with your overall playing and that makes it fun and interesting for you at the same time.
Do you think music composition can be taught, or are you born with it?
Well, again, another good question. I think definitely it can be taught. I did not have any kind of formal lessons or training in it. I just started actually composing because I needed to. I had my first year of teaching, one of my students didn't like anything that I played for him. And so out of frustration, I just started making up something on the piano, and he really liked that. And then after that, I just started writing new pieces every week and decided that I really liked doing it, and the students really responded well to the pieces. And I definitely think it can be taught. Sometimes you don't even realize that you have a gift for something until you try doing it yourself.
My last question is, with all this information now, can you tell me about how a composer can be successful at making music?
Well, I think success depends on the quality of the work, and if you really truly want to be successful at what you're doing. And I think in life, opportunity and success, they seem to come to those people who actively search for it and then work for it and love it. So that would be my general thoughts on success with composition.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A ride in Austin ought to be fun.
I think in the end, a composer needs to have a good inspiration, a nice melody, and a passion for composing music. I guess you don't have to be born with the ability to compose music, but you do have to like it like everything else you do to be great in doing it.